He confessed to me, but I couldn't reciprocate. Chapter 46 answers Riley's POV. Waking up was the best feeling ever. Ashton's arms were wrapped tightly around me, making our chests flush against each other. The memory of last night through my mind. Ashton was saying something. What did he say? I'll ask him later. Then I felt him stirring. His arms tensed and his eyebrows furrowed. He opened an eye and its erode in on my face. Then he opened the other one and smiled. Morning, beautiful. His husky voice sent shivers down my spine. I groaned. Keep quiet. Your hero ending the silence. I slapped my hand around his face in a pathetic attempt on keeping him quiet. I heard a deep chuckle and a large hand grabbed mine. Ashton gently pried my hand away from his face. He lightly brushed his lips over my knuckles while I stared at him. How are you feeling? He asked quietly. Why would I feel any different? What did we do last night that he needed to ask me how I was? We didn't finish that. You know what? Ashton's face was one of amusement. I wish. I scrunched my nose in disgust and placed my hand back on his face, gently shoving it away. Get your mind out of the gutter. Purdy boy. I muttered. But you love me. Ashton added. I never said I did. I retaliated. You will. Soon. The day I was released from the hospital, I was happily jumping up and down on my bed. I don't know how long the grumpiness lasts for, but I think it's around a week, like a girl's period. I still have some marks from the war. And Ashton, he was being patient with me, explaining the consequences of getting marked. I hate it. It's like having an extra week of periods. Haley and Spencer nearly fainted when they saw the mark on my neck, both for different reasons. Spencer nearly killed Ashton if not for the multitude of werewolves there. Haley gushed over the fact that I was bitten by her son. Cole has also been released from the hospital. We finally told him about Ben and he yelled at us for the longest time. All we could do was bow our heads sadly. Then after the shouting, he went silent, grieving the loss of our friend and leader. He didn't talk much after that. He hasn't spoken a word to any of us but locked himself up in his room. I am going to ask Paul questions today. I slowly trudged to the trees where the cells were situated. I gripped the gun in my hand tightly. I approached a small shack, where 2 guards were standing on each side of the door. They opened the door for me and I gave them a small wave and slipped past them. I made my way down the dimly lit stairs that led me deep into the earth. I hopped off the last step and saw the cells that seemed to never end. After going through 5 cells with no luck, I found Paul slouched in the corner. His head lifted when he heard my footsteps stop. His eyes met mine and a smirk wiggled onto his dirty face. Well, Riley, what a surprise. He spat with feigned enthusiasm. What brings you here? I began saying something when he interrupted me. Wait. Don't tell me. Let me guess. Are you here to ask about your dream with your mother? Making his smirk widen. I know more than you think. You are underestimating me. How do you know about my dream? I asked cautiously. He didn't answer but his eyes twinkled with that emotion I wasn't able to name. She's lying. You know. Paul said. Your mother doesn't know what she's talking about. I furrowed my eyebrows. What are you talking about? His shoulders began shaking and loud laughter escaped his mouth. She doesn't know me that well. Riley, she's clueless to how much power I contain. That caught my attention. You knew her. Paul's face immediately darkened. Yes, I knew her. What happened? None of your business. What happened between us is none of your concern. I'm quite sure because she's my mother I deserve to know. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nolben, hearts out thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Paul pressed his lips together. Fine. I guess I should tell one person. I leaned forward. But promise me that after I tell you, you cannot tell anyone and you have to kill me. I hesitated then gave him a firm nod. Okay. You have my word. Paul cleared his throat. I met your mother a while back. I immediately knew she was my mate. I choked on my saliva. She was your mate. You're a werewolf. Cole scowled at me. Yes, I am. Now let me finish. I tried charming her into leaving with me. Apparently, she doesn't like cheating. I got really angry and stopped seeing her. I still sent some people to check up on her once a while. When one of my spies told me she has cancer, I went to visit her again. But as I was walking down the hall to her room, I saw a girl. I raised my eyebrows. Was it me? No, it was Bridget. She was visiting her aunt. How did I not see her? I thought she looked as Katie, Cole said with dreamy eyes. If she looked like Katie, would she act as her? Could she help me lead the Rougean hunters? And more importantly, will she help me lessen the pain? As soon as Katie died, I waited for a year before looking her. She was taken by that boy. What's his name? James. John. Jared. I corrected. Yes, him. I don't like that kid. Getting in the way of my plans. So I punished him by taking dear Bridget away. Cole chuckled. It was fun watching him look frantically. To my agent extraordinaire, Myelin Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. His face when he saw the body. Priceless. I was right there, watching him cry over some Rouge's body. I even videotaped it to show Bridget how torn up her boyfriend is. I gave him a look of disgust. He ignored it and continued. When I tested her, like how I did with you, she screamed easily. I did a few more tests, which she failed. I sent more spies to look for more girls like Katie. They found you. Her daughter. I formed a plan to meet up with your father, telling him to bring you along. He did as I said and the rest you know. I was processing the information when he said, "Now you have to shoot me." You promised. He answered all the questions I wanted to ask him, but I was still hesitant to kill him. Why? I have no idea. Riley. Contact D. You are supposed to be true to your word. Now shoo. I raised the gun and shot his chest before he could finish his sentence. I scowled at the limp body and began turning away. However, something caught my attention. Cole's eyes were no longer green. They were an all too familiar dark brown, the same shade of my father's. I looked closer and saw his hair elongating and his face began shifting. I took a step back. What's happening? Fear covered me as I watched Paul transform into my father's dead body. I held in a scream that threatened to escape. My father laid on the cool concrete floor, motionless. Jamie blew out the candles on the cake while everyone around clapped. We were back at home, in the hideout. We weren't in the hideout, but we were in the hideout. In the house's living room. The werewolves don't know where the trainings are held, so we are fine with that. We don't want a wolf being in a place where its ultimate weakness, Silver, is everywhere. The sleigh deaths were here and the majority of the gang was too. Cole managed to drag himself out of his room but hasn't talked. Jamie was opening gifts and when he got to the one I wrapped with Ben's gift in it, a large smile graced his face. Who's it from? Dennis asked, peering over Jamie's shoulder. Jamie looked at Dennis with joyful eyes. Ben. Everyone crowded closer in hopes of seeing the present. Jamie exclaimed merrily. He picked the birthday card up and read it out loud. Happy birthday, Jamie. I hope you are having a good time because I sure. I saw everything. The unicorns. Leprechauns. The spoon. To my agent extraordinaire, Myelin Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And there's Borks. Guess what? Finn's here too. So are my parents. Everything's going really well. I sent this pack of Skittles to you because these are made from the actual colors of the majestic rainbow. Hopefully you'll join me here and well babysit the sporks together. Well, even donate McDonald's to the hobo aliens here. With lots of care. Colors. And Skittles. Benny. That was an interesting note, Spencer said into my ear. I giggled quietly. It took a lot of thought. I replied sickly. I felt a blanket of saddle on the crowd. Some people were tearing up. Others were trying to act strong. And others were bawling their eyes out. Cole went up to Jamie, who had straight ears running down his face, and put his hand on his shoulder. Cole looked close to tears, but he quickly blinked it away. Then I saw Lucy step towards them with her arms outstretched. She wrapped her arms around Jamie's shoulder and held him tightly. I let a traitorous stare roll down my cheek. I turned to Ashton and gripped his hand. He looked at me and brought his hand to wipe the tear away. He then proceeded to cut the back of my neck and made me bury my face into his chest. Then I let everything go. I sobbed into Ashton's chest, his shirt soaking up all my tears. We stood in the cemetery having Ben's funeral. The weather matched our emotions. With dark clouds and a light drizzle of rain, I stood beside Ashton and had Spencer talk about Ben. One by one, people talked about Ben, what a good leader he was, how nice he was, etc. His gravestone said, Ben Westcott, October 22, 1995, July 50, 2014. A great friend, leader, and brother. You will be greatly missed. People began leaving. Then there was only the few of us left. Jamie was still crying and eating the pack of Skittles slowly. Cole stood beside him staring at Ben's gravestone. He was rubbing his chest where Ben's heart laid. Justin and Spencer stood closely, blankly staring at the air. Dennis had his arms circled around Lucy as she leaned into him for support. Bridget and Jared stood afar, watching everything. I knew they were grieving quietly, using each other's presence for comfort. I had run out of tears long ago, my eyes drooping as tiredness was taking over me. Ashton must have felt me leaning heavily on him because I felt his arm tighten around my waist to support me. Want to go home? I nodded my head, closing my eyes. Yes, please. He scooped me up bridal style and went to Spencer. He muttered something, and when Spencer nodded, Ashton carried me to his car. I nuzzled my head into his neck, breathing in his intoxicating scent. He gently set me down on the passenger seat and buckled my seatbelt. The drive home was silent, no one uttering a single word. The soft car engine lulled me to sleep. I was barely awake to feel myself from being carried out of the car. The next thing I felt was being set down on a comfortable bed. Ashton tucked the blanket up to my chin and left to shower. I heard the water running and heard its top. Then I felt the bed dip as Ashton got in. I felt his well-muscled arms wrap themselves around my waist and they pulled me forward. My body met his and I buried my face into the crook of his neck. I felt his warm breath on the mark on my neck and shivered. He placed a soft kiss on it and kissed my forehead tenderly. Good night, beautiful. I love you. What? Chapter 47, Couple Problems. Riley's POV. I replayed the events of last night in my mind. Thanks a lot, Ashton. You made me worry some more. My conversation with Paul bothered me and now I have something else to worry about. What if he told me he loves me in front of my face? I don't love him, but I like him a lot. Do I feel pressured? Yes. I had hurried out of the room the moment I woke up. I now sat in the kitchen eating my cereal. Well, are you up early? Spencer said bitterly. He was still upset about Ashton marking me. Grow up. I groaned. It's done. You can't change it. He raised his arms in surrender. What called up your arse and died? I narrowed my eyes at him. Shut it. It's girl talk. I'm guessing you are still on your mark period. Spencer questioned. He had come up with a name for the grumpiness that came after Ashton marked me. That? I pointed at him. And need to talk to Lucy. I jumped off my chair and left for Lucy's room. I knocked on her door. Impatient. When I heard a groan and then come in. I pushed the door open. Lucy laid in bed, with Dennis snuggled into her side. Gosh, why do you have to wake me up so early? Lucy whispered, yelled. Careful to not wake her boyfriend. It's important, I said in a hushed voice. What does it have to do with love? With that word, her eyes widened and she gestured for me to come in. I silently pointed at Dennis. She began waving wildly. Ouch, yes, a heavy sleeper. Come, tell me. I stepped into the room and closed the door behind me. I made my way to her bed and sat at the edge. Are you sure she's asleep? She rolled her eyes. Yes, his snoring says it all. And in response, a loud snore echoed from him. Lucy smiled softly and sat up. She made herself comfortable, leaning against the backboard. Now start speaking. So after the funeral, Ashton drove me home. I was too tired to stand on my two legs. He brought me to his room and placed me on his bed. Then, did he change your clothes? Lucy cut me off. My eyes widened. Oh, he didn't. I woke up in the dress. Lucy sighed. Good. At least she is not like someone. She directed her glare to Dennis's mop of blonde hair. He moaned and hugged her legs closer to his chest. So you were saying, you finished showering. Changing, Lucy cut me off again. You didn't peek, did you? I blushed. No. Lucy grinned. Okay. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. That's good. I guess. I shook my head to clear some dirty thoughts that were floating in my mind. Great. You got me off topic. Now, where was I? Oh yeah. He came into bed and he said something along the lines of, "Good night, beautiful. I love you." Lucy was giggling crazily like a middle school girl. You got him whipped, she said excitedly. My goodness. Riley, you and your innocence made a boy fall head over heels in love with you. I can't believe Itzy this day. She wiped a non-existent tear away. I gave her a fat look. That's the problem. Lucy blinked and gave me a confused look. What do you mean? I don't know if I love him. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You know what it's like to be in love with Dennis. That's why I came to you, since you know what it feels like. You can tell me. Lucy pressed her lips into a thin line as she thought. Hazel, this is what girls talk about. We jumped. Dennis let out a loud yawn and stretched. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Babe. He sat up and pecked Lucy's cheek. We were still frozen in our spots. How much did you hear? Lucy asked, and Dennis thought for a moment. Everything. I groaned loudly. You can't tell anyone, especially Ashton. Hey, Dennis said. Just do what I did. What did you do? Lucy confessed she loved me first. So I just said it back to her. Then when you said it, you'll soon find yourself falling hard. Really hard. My mouth popped open. What? Lucy screeched. Dennis' eyes widened as he realized what he just said out loud. Oh, Lucy, you weren't genuine the first time you told me you loved me. Lucy asked. I knew she was broken. Bad move, Trengrove. Bad move. Lucy abruptly got off the bed and began pacing around the room. I can't believe it. She pointed to Dennis. You lied to me. Dennis got off the bed. Lucy, I can't explain. I can't believe I believed you. She continued yelling. I'm sure the whole house could hear her. I gave you my virginity and you lied to me. I think this is a bad time to talk. I'm going to leave now. I awkwardly got off the bed and inched my way towards the door now. Lucy's eyes snapped to mine. Stay. I want you to be the witness of this breakup. But snapped Dennis back into reality. What? You can't break us up now. I love you. That made Lucy more furious. Save that line for some other girl who did dare fall for you. She spun on her heel and stomped out of the room. She slammed the door, making the impact loud. Dennis made a move for the door, but I grabbed his arm. Don't go after her. Why not? Let her cool off. She wouldn't listen to you when she's this angry. Dennis sat on the bed heavily. He buried his head in his hands and sighed. I messed up, didn't I? I sat beside him and placed my arm on his shoulder. Yes, you did. He lifted his head to glare at me. That was a rhetorical question. Riley. I grinned knowingly. I know, but you deserved it. I know I deserve it. He moaned sadly. Why did you do it in the first place? I asked curiously. Dennis ran a hand through his mess of blonde hair. When she first confessed, I didn't know what to say. She was staring at me with those big brown eyes, filled with hope. I knew if I said nothing I'd break her heart. But if I lied to her and told her I loved her too, she'd be happy. That time, I was hoping I'd soon fall in love with her, so that I wouldn't have to lie through my teeth every time. I nodded. I understand. But that doesn't mean I forgive you for lying to her. I know. Dennis groaned in frustration. But can you help me? Make her forgive me? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. In not taking sides on this couple thing. It is only the boy and the girl who can fix this. Dennis nodded sadly. I'd advise you to go talk to her quick. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. She's most likely going to talk to Bridget, who will talk to Jared, who will talk to Cole, who will rile up some people to kill you for breaking Lucy's heart. I guarantee you, I will be in that crowd, so you better find her quickly. Dennis' eyes widened and he dashed out the room, leaving me alone. So much for helping me. I mumbled to myself. Looks like in helping them. There was a knock on the door. Come in. Ashton's head appeared, making me go rigged. Hey, Riley. I asked Dennis where you were. He seemed in a rush for something. Yeah. I nodded. Couple troubles. So where were you this morning? You weren't in my room when I woke up. Ashton asked, tilting his head at an angle. I bit my lip. I was hungry. Ashton muttered, not believing me. I think we should check on Lucy and Dennis. I mumbled. I walked out with Ashton at my heels. I felt his warm hand slip in mine and I jumped in shock, but didn't remove it. Bad part about Lucy and Dennis fighting is that they never back down. The good part is, there is no good in all of this. We made it in time to see them yelling at each other in the living room. Bridget and Jared were staring helplessly at the couple. You don't lie about love. Lucy screamed. I wouldn't have minded if you didn't love me. If you were me, you would have done the same. You did not see the hope in your eyes. I knew if I said nothing, it would break your heart. Dennis bellowed. Jared caught my eye. He and Bridget made their way to us. And quite sure I know what they are arguing about. Jared said. Yes, and unless we want World War I to break out, let's stop them, Ashton said. Bridget and I went to Lucy whilst Jared and Ashton went to Dennis. Lucy, Bridget said softly. Lucy, let's go. Lucy ignored her and continued yelling at Dennis. I grabbed Lucy's wrist tightly and began dragging her out of the room. Lucy was strong and managed to stay put. Bridget got what I was doing and hurried to my assistance. She grabbed Lucy's other arm and helped me pull. We somehow got her out of the room and in her room. I forcefully pushed her onto her bed and stood over her. Bridget locked the door before coming to stand beside me. What do you guys want? Can't you see that I was going to tear that boy's balls off? Lucy got out. Now, I don't think that'd be such a good idea. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. We won't your hands getting all bloody. It'd be worth it if they cheers in pain, Lucy said. How many horror films did you watch last night? Bridget asked suddenly. None. While Lucy was off topic. Thank you. Bridget, why don't we have a girls' day out? Just the three of us. Bridget suggested. If it gets me away from that liar. Yes, please, Lucy said. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Riley, can you come? I thought about it. Sure, I could get some things off my mind for a day. Chapter 48, Jamie's girlfriend Riley's POV retard. Lucy muttered. We were going through stores trying to get her mind off her current breakup. So far, so bad. She has been mumbling names clearly directed to Dennis. Cretin. Lucy roughly pushed some clothes aside as she looked through them. Bridget and I exchanged nervous looks. Lucy. To our agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. She snapped. She had some clothes in her hand, which she was gripping with a bit too much force. Try not to kill the clothes. I pointed at her hand. I really don't want to be kicked out of this store. Lucy sighed. I'm gonna try these on. She held up the clothes and went to the changing room. When she closed the door, Bridget let out a relieved sigh. Lucy hasn't changed at all. We had somehow calmed Lucy down and were now heading back to the pack house. I was driving. I didn't trust Lucy with the wheel. I wouldn't say I am a good driver. I have my license, but I haven't driven much ever since my driver's test. Can you drive any slower? Lucy asked sarcastically. Try. My hands gripped the wheel tightly so that my knuckles were white. Lucy, Bridget said softly. Don't pressure the driver. The conversation repeated itself for the whole ride back. I'm going to kill Dennis for this. But I'm sure Cole or Lucy would beat me to it. I was even more careful as I parked the car on the pack house's driveway. We got out and saw Ashton, Jared, and Cole waited for us at the front of the house. They came over to help with the bags of clothes. Ashton took 5 bags in each of his hands, leaving me with one very light one to carry. Did you have fun? Planting a quick kiss on my lips and hung. We brought my clothes to our room and I decided to unpack later. I was too hungry to wait any longer. As I was chomping on an apple, Jamie and Dennis came in. Dennis looked a mess. His bloodshot eyes told me he had been crying. Jamie, on the other hand, was the total opposite. He had a large grin on his face. Guess what, Riley? What? I found a Skittle on the ground. It was delicious. Must be my lucky day. Yay, Dennis grumbled. Lucky you. Jamie stroked Dennis's shoulder softly. He cooed. You don't have to be jealous of me. Unlike you, I had actually found my one true love. Dennis flinched, probably thinking about Lucy not being in his future. Who's your true love? Jamie sighed dreamily and sank into the chair next to me. She has the prettiest name ever. Every color goes well with her. She's so yummy, I could eat every single piece of her. She's here. Well, show her to us. Dennis raised his eyebrows, challenging lie. I don't believe you, of all people, would be able to get someone to be your girlfriend. Jamie rolled his eyes. You'll be so jealous when you see her package. He laid down a packet of Skittles on the table. Beat that. Skittles. Dennis snorted. That isn't even alive. He pointed at Jamie's girlfriend. Jamie gasped loudly and scooped up the Skittles. He rubbed his cheek against the wrapper. Don't insult her. Jamie, you need to grow up one day. Find yourself a girlfriend. Settle down with her. Do the dirty. Have a family. Not with Skittles. Dennis. Jamie gasped again and clutched the candy in a death grip. Nothing will ever split me and Skittles up. Skittles and I corrected. Jamie's eyes snapped to me. Not you two. You want Skittles all to yourself too. Riley, I trusted you. Now I know you and Dennis want me and Skittles to break up. Shame on you. Thompson, you don't have enough. Do you? You want Skittles and Ashton to yourself. I scowled at him. I was just correcting your grammar. You don't say me and Skittles. You say Skittles and I. Jamie's face brightened. Okay. Just then, Lucy came in. Tension flooded the room as the gangster best fighters made eye contact. Dennis cleared his throat uncomfortably, snapping Lucy out of her thoughts. I saw a flash of sadness and pain go through her eyes, but it disappeared as soon as it came, replaced by hatred and anger. She speedily walked to where I was, snatched my apple out of my hands and stormed out, chewing on my apple. Wait, Lucy. Dennis began walking in her direction. She paused for a few seconds, then continued walking at a faster pace. Eventually, they were running through the house. How do I know? There were people screaming, meaning that Lucy was darting in between people and Dennis was shoving them out of his way. Oh, Jamie sighed. Such a lovely couple. They broke up. Jamie. I reminded him. He shrugged and picked at his empty Skittles pack. Jamie, I said slowly, I think you ate your girlfriend. Jamie froze and looked down at the Skittle-less package. Then he shrugged again. There's more girls I can pick up out there. They are all easily swayed with money. Shit. I jumped and Jamie screamed. Dennis halted his footsteps. We relaxed when we realized who it was. What happened? Jamie asked eagerly. Where's Lucy? Didn't catch her. Dennis ran a hand through his hair. Almost did. But she slammed her room door in my face. Literally. Guys. We saw Ashton come into the kitchen. I heard a lot of yelling. Then some of my pack members came up to me and complained about a blonde boy and a brunette girl were playing tag. Do you know what it's about? He looked at Dennis with his eyes narrowed. Before Dennis could tell Ashton about this morning. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Dennis and Lucy had a fallout. Ashton's eyes softened. Oh, I'm sorry. Dennis nodded but didn't say anything. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Jessica flew through the kitchen door and landed on Ashton's back. He stumbled at the sudden impact, then chuckled. Hey, Jess. Jessica's arms circled around his neck and he placed his hands on her thighs to support her. Guess what I learned today? She chirped. New magic trick. Nope, Jessica said, popping the pea. I learned how to snap my fingers. Oh, let's see. Jessica released one arm and stuck it in front of Ashton's face. She repeatedly snapped them and laughed giddily. It's so fun. Ashton chuckled and I watched them. Then I felt someone breathing on my neck. Having fun stalking. I turned and saw Jamie grinning at me. You know, I used to stalk Justin. I snorted softly. Why would you do that? I don't know. Jamie scrunched his eyebrows. I think I was jealous of his hair. That's why I wanted to know what kind of shampoo he uses. So you followed him into the bathroom. Jamie groaned. Why didn't I think of that? I could just see which one he uses first. Second. And so on. Second. And so on. You mean he has more than one bottle? Jamie rolled his eyes. Have you felt his hair? It's like running your fingers through something soft. I nodded. Okay. How about another example? I don't know any other examples. Jamie muttered. Then a group of women came in. What's happening? Jamie looked around confused. A nearby woman stopped and smiled at us. We are preparing dinner. Do you need help? She quickly shook her head. No. Go with Ashton and your friends. We will cook. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I lead Dennis. Jamie. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And Jessica out of the kitchen, where the women were bustling about. We saw Bridget and Jared giggling at each other in the living room's love seat. Jamie tapped me on my shoulder and whispered, "Watch me ruin the moment." He ran to their direction before I could stop him. He squeezed his way in between them as they were about to kiss, so they each kissed his cheek. "Hey guys," Jamie chirped. "What should do in?" They jumped away from him in surprise. Jared scowled at Jamie and Bridget laughed, making his features soften. Jamie winked at me and I tried hiding my smile behind my hand. Someone grabbed my hand. I looked and saw Ashton smiling at me. Dennis and Jessica had disappeared. "Wanna go for a walk?" he asked softly. "Sure." He led me out to the back. We walked into the forest and he began stripping. I yelped. "What are you doing?" "I'm going to shift. I haven't shifted ever since." He finished lamely. I turned so that my back was to him and squeezed my eyes shut. I heard bones cracking and then a rustle. I felt something nudge my thigh and I blinked my eyes open. My eyes landed on a large black wolf with Ashton's eyes. I reached out a hesitant hand and stroked his head. He leaned into my touch and I became braver and scratched behind his ear. He seemed to purr and I smiled. "Let's go." I headed to the tree line as Ashton picked up his clothes laying on the grass with his mouth. Then I felt his big head go in between my legs and he lifted his head, so I slid down to his back. I clung to his soft fur. "What are you doing?" I yelped. Did he seriously want me to ride on his back while he runs? He seemed to have read my mind as he turned his head with mischief in his eyes. I bit my lip hard and flattened my body against his. "Don't you dare let me fall off," I warned. He rolled his eyes and began walking. Soon, he moved into a slow jog, then into a slightly faster one. I was on his back, clinging for my life, when I felt him speeding into a run. I quickly said, "Slow down." He growled softly, but I squeezed my legs that were wrapped around his stomach. "Please." That made him go at a slower pace. After much running for Ashton, he slowed into a walk. We stopped in front of a large tree. I slid off his back and looked around confused. "What were we doing here? You aren't gonna kill me?" I asked jokingly. He either decided to ignore me or he didn't hear me because he walked into the trees without looking back. Then he emerged from the trees, half naked. Where did his shirt go? I don't care. My mouth fell open as I scanned his well-muscled torso. I could practically feel the drool pouring over the corners of my lips. I was snapped out of my gawking state when Ashton cleared his throat. He looked at me with cocky smirk and I felt a blush creep over my face. "So what were we doing here?" Desperate to change the subject, his smirk changed into an amused smile as he noticed my lame attempt of switching his attention. He walked towards me with long strides. I watched him carefully as he neared. "What are we doing here?" I repeated. He stopped in front of me and placed his hands on my shoulders. He turned my body 180 degrees so that I faced the base of a tree. He then moved his hands to the underside of my jaw and tilted it up. My eyes trailed up the body of the tree and it landed on a treehouse. "Oh," I said. "So why are we here? Are we going in? Is there a ladder?" "The ladder is this way," Ashton said. He placed a hand on the small of my back and guided me around the tree. On the other side there was the ladder. "Ladies first." I began climbing and soon Ashton followed suit. I hauled myself onto the floor of the treehouse and waited for Ashton. Once he climbed up, he sat on the floor with me. He wrapped his arms around me and pulled me to his chest. We stayed in silence, watching time pass. "Riley," Ashton said softly. I love you." It was so soft I almost didn't catch it. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." I didn't expect him to tell me so soon. Now what do I say? I'm most definitely not going with Dennis's way. I'm not about to lie to Ashton, even if it's the easiest way. I trailed off, obviously stucco. Ashton's hopeful face deflated until it was left with disappointment. I looked down feeling horrible that it caused him sadness, that I felt a pair of lips being pressed against my temple. "It'll make you love me soon. You'll have to say it one day. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." I mumbled, his arms tight and around me. After a while, "It's time for dinner." We climbed down and as Ashton went to strip behind some trees, he turned and called, "I love you." My lips thinned and I gave him a stiff nod, not able to say it back. Chapter 49, Jamie the Double Agent, Riley's POV. Most of the gang had moved back to the hideout, but a few had decided to stay for a while longer. I, on the other hand, am not allowed to leave back to the pack house. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Haley, Jessica, and everyone in the pack insisted that I stay behind. They had obviously ignored all of Spencer's complaints and threats. Dinner was quite uncomfortable, with Lucy sitting next to me, Cole sitting next to her, Dinner sitting beside Cole, trying to get her attention, and she ignoring him altogether. Word must have spread through the pack house about their nasty breakup because no one would make eye contact with Lucy. She can be like Medusa when she wants to. Believe me on that. I've experienced it firsthand. The only normal one was Jamie and Jessica. They were sitting together and Jessica was levitating her potatoes whilst Jamie watched in awe. Taryn, Haley, Sophie, and Brandon had to go for a meeting. Ashton had briefly told me that many alphas were going to that meeting to talk about another pack. That pack had just finished a war that went on for a decade. The alpha's mate had died during battle and they needed help rebuilding the pack house. When Ashton had said all that, I felt sorry for the alpha. It must be hard to lose a mate. I can't imagine my life without Ashton. When I asked why the alpha didn't end his life, Ashton shrugged and said, he doesn't have a successor. He'll need to choose the next alpha. His beta will take over the pack. Does anyone want to watch a movie? All our head turned to Jamie. He seemed to shrink under our gazes. After dinner. Sure. Dennis was the one who spoke. He looked very suspicious when he kept switching his gaze from Jamie to Lucy. He was up to something. Jamie then asked, are you going to watch? Lucy. Lucy froze and I could see the gears turning in her head. It was like she was mentally questioning herself. Why would Jamie ask me? She slowly lifted her head and her eyes burned holes into Jamie's face. Maybe. It's a yes or no question. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Why would you care? Lucy was now in detective mode. Since when have you ever cared? Jamie smiled. I just want to know if I would have to make more popcorn. Lucy scowled and cast Dennis a subtle look. Yes, in watching. Jamie's smile widened. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. It was that hard. We sat in the movie room. There was a 64-inch flat screen TV pressed up against the wall. Jamie had made popcorn for everyone and was currently picking the movie. Okay, I've the movie. Jamie announced. What is it? Carly asked. Jamie's eyes glittered. Secret. Then he went to his seat and leaned on Justin, who scowled at him. The movie title came up and there were different reactions from the group. A collective groans from the girls but the boys stayed silent. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. The boys in a relationship stayed silent. I looked up at Ashton to see a smile playing at the corners of his lips. His arm around my shoulder slides to my waist. He was careful to not be caught by Spencer, who'd finally got some free time off the game. Paranormal Activity began playing and the deeper we got into the movie, I had my head buried in Ashton's chest and the blanket covered every inch of my body. Ashton's chest vibrated as he laughed lightly. Don't laugh at me. I whimpered. The blanket lifted off of my head and Ashton's blue eyes captured mine. He placed a soft kiss on my forehead. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I peeked over the edge of the blanket. The couples and Jamie and Justin were cuddled up with each other. Yes, I said Jamie and Justin. They were pressed up against each other, their eyes glued to the screen. They shared a blanket and Jamie ate the popcorn at an alarming rate. The only girl who was cuddled up with someone was Lucy. She was sitting at the farthest corner of the couch, away from Dennis, who was slowly inching his way closer. She didn't notice him as she focused her eyes on the screen and stuffing her mouth with popcorn. Now I know. Dennis bade Jamie to play that movie so he can get close to Lucy. My gaze shifted to Spencer and Cole. They each had a blanket on their lap. They stared at the screen blankly as they unknowingly picked one popcorn at a time. An ear-shattering scream made me scream, causing many other girls and Jamie and Justin to scream. Popcorn scattered everywhere and everyone was on their feet. My heart was beating 100 miles an hour and Ashton looked at me concerned. The movie paused and the lights were flicked on. On the ground was Dennis with a bloody nose. Our eyes went to Lucy, who was fuming. What the hell? Dennis. Cole jumped to his feet and went to stand by his sister's side. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. This ass had the nerve to put his arm around me. We aren't together anymore. Dennis. Lucy seethed. That was a bad move too. Just unchuckled. Everyone knows not to touch Lucy while she's watching a horror movie. You're lucky she gave you a bloody nose. Lucy spun on her heel and stormed out. Sam went to retrieve a tissue box for Dennis and I followed Lucy. I knocked on her door softly. Lucy. Go away. Lucy. The door swung open and a hand grasped my elbow, roughly jerking me into the room. Lucy quickly shut the door and locked it. I made myself comfortable on her bed as she made a move to sit on a plush chair. So what's up? Of course I know it's up. But you can't just ask, Lucy. How's your love life? At a time like this. What's up is that Dennis lied to me. Lucy screeched. That lying bastard. And he dare put his arm around me. After a while. Extremely amused. You can admit it around me. Lucy. You enjoyed it. To have him touch you again. You were tempted to just snuggle into his side. You forced yourself to punch him. There was silence. Then Lucy sighed. Yes, you're right. I smugly smiled at her. So what are you going to do? I'm going to get over him and date another guy. My smile instantly switched into a scowl. No, Lucy. Because you love him and he loves you. You're going to apologize. Lucy choked on her spit. What? I don't apologize. You of all people should know that. I rolled my eyes. If it's for Dennis, you'd do anything. I know you. That is, if you're trying to make him jealous for payback. I snapped my fingers and looked at Lucy with wide eyes. She smiled. Yes, you finally got it. I quirked an eyebrow. Are you really going to do that? It'll break his heart and hell do something rash. Do something rash is an understatement. My dear Riley, then why are you doing this? She is gonna pick a fight with the guy and most likely kill him. Lucy grinned heavily. That is if I'm dating Justin. It was my turn to choke. Why Justin? There are a few reasons. Lucy said. Jamie is too childish. Second, Cole is my brother. Third, Dennis is the one I'm going to make jealous. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Dennis Woodland hurt his friend as much as a stranger. Oh. I mean, he probably told everyone that you are off limits. And if he found out his friend, of all people, was dating his ex, he'd freak out. The bro code. Lucy scoffed. The bro code still exists. That's stupid. I chuckled. Yes, the bro code is still around. Lucy groaned. I hate meeting new people. My mouth popped open. So you're going to actually date someone to get your ex jealous? If that's what would make him angry. Yes, Lucy. I exclaimed. What? She gave me an innocent look. Don't be stupid. There was a knock on the door. Is everything fine in there? A muffled voice asked. Lucy's wide eyes snapped to mine. She whispered, Don't open the door. It Dennis. I ignored her and made my way to the door. I opened it and Dennis was standing there looking uncomfortable. His face was clear of any hint of blood. Hey Dennis, how's your nose? I asked sweetly. Dennis said, narrowing his eyes. I widened the doorway. Come in. Lucy wants to talk to you. His eyes brightened and he said, To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. At the same time Lucy said, Riley. Yes, she really wants to talk. Dennis looked at Lucy nervously. Is that okay? I fixed my eyes on Lucy and glared. She held my gaze for a while before she closed her eye and signed. Dennis walked in and I shut the door. I'm not going to let Lucy stay in the room with Dennis alone. I slid down to the floor, silently watching Dennis nervously greet Lucy. She narrowed her eyes at him and nodded stiffly. Lucy. I didn't mean to put my arm around you. I didn't know what I was doing. Dennis stuttered. Liar. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Dennis looked up. You are telling another lie. Dennis. Lucy seethed. You stutter when you lie. Now why did you put your arm around me? Just tell her the truth. Dennis. I said mentally. I wish I could do those mind-link things wolves can do. We all know you did it. Dennis gulped loudly. Lucy blinked, surprised at his bluntness. I regret lying. Lucy, you have to believe me. I didn't mean to hurt you. Lucy opened her mouth to speak, but Dennis was done. I love you, he said confidently. And I'm sure of that. I'm not lying. I am deeply in love with you. When Lucy didn't say anything, he spoke again. I don't expect you to forgive me right now. But just remember I miss you. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Logan. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Dennis got up. I'll be in my room if you want to talk. He left his eyes flash surprise when he saw me. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Logan. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He forgot I was right there listening to every word. The door clicked shut and my head snapped to Lucy. She was staring down at the ground with a blank expression. What are you doing? I asked incredulously. How, Lucy? Judy just apologized. She is sorry for everything. Go give him a hug and a kiss and forgive him. I grabbed her arm and jerked her up. I pushed her to the door and opened it. I shoved her out and slammed the door, knocking it in the process. There was silence on the other side. After a while, I heard feet scampering over hard wooden floors. I smiled and unlocked the door. I went back to the movie room to see them still watching. I joined Ashton and snuggled into his side. How did everything go? He asked quietly. Just fine. Once the credits were rolling, Jamie announced that he needed to go to the bathroom. Justin, can you walk me to my room? It's the end of the dark hall. I don't want anybody to jump out of nowhere and kill me. Justin rolled his eyes. And this is coming from the boy who has killed dozens of people. Please. Jamie pouted. Justin scowled and put a hand on his shoulder, pushing him forward. Let's go. Jamie beamed at him. If a killer comes out of nowhere, you have to kill him. Whatever. Ashton and I walked to our room. Well, he was supporting most of my weight and trying to walk. Finally, he scooped me up bridal style. My arms automatically went around his neck and I placed my chin on his shoulder. I yawned sleepily and my eyelids began drooping. I inhaled Ashton's comforting smell and nuzzled my face into the crook of his neck. I saw Dennis's room door opened wide. As we passed by, I peeked inside. Lucy's head was rested on Dennis's chest and his arms were wrapped tightly around her, like she was going to disappear any second. Dennis' loud snores outmatched Lucy's soft ones. They both looked much better since their breakup. I smiled to myself. They are such a stupid couple and I love them so much. Chapter 50, New Family Riley's POV. I smirked as Lucy giggled when Dennis kissed her. Jessica crunched her nose in disgust. Hey, get a room, Jamie yelled, making Jessica giggle. Lucy and Dennis could not keep their hands off each other for more than 2 seconds. Ever since they got back together, they've been inseparable. Dennis lifted his head and shot Jamie a glare. Shut up. No, he said defiantly. Then he turned towards the kitchen door and ran away. Dennis' footsteps could be heard chasing Jamie. Have you said it? I gave Lucy a questioning look. How have you told Ashton you love him? No, why? Oh, I just thought you've told him. Lucy shrugged. The way you look at him. It's how Bridget looks at Jared. Without a love, admiration, and affection. How do you know? I thought him supposed to know before anyone else. It's written all over your face. Riley, you're very easy to read. Lucy chuckled. She patted my shoulder and walked off. Someone's here, Jessica said. I jumped in surprise. It forgot she was here. What? Simone's at the door. And just as she predicted, the doorbell rang. Jessica smiled brightly at me and skipped to the door. I followed her. I opened the door and smiled at the family of 3. There was a scrawny boy hiding behind his mother's leg. His hair had different mixtures of brown and flopped over his brown eyes. I was about to greet them when Jessica stepped in front of me and growled. There was something in her growl that didn't sound like a normal growl. It had more power in it. Maybe she has more alpha blood in her. The father stepped in between his family and us. Is the alpha here? He asked gruffly. No. Is the beta here? Nope. Yes with the alpha. How about the third? No, Jessica snapped. Go away or I'll call the guards. I said gently. Don't be so rude. You, Wai, have obviously not been around werewolves enough. Jessica said. These guys are dangerous. Can we speak with someone? The woman asked. You are speaking with someone. Jessica said. I met someone with high power. The woman corrected. Wai asked. Our pack has been destroyed. We are looking for another pack to join. Hey Jess. Who's that for? There was another growl and I was being pushed behind Ashton's muscled build. What are you doing here? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He snarled. Their pack got destroyed and they need to live somewhere. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And they didn't seem like a threat. Harmless. I confirmed. Ashton reluctantly stepped aside. I guess they can stay for the night. Until Dad comes home. We led them to their room, which was far from my room. So what's your names? My name's Greg. This is my mate Martha. And my son Logan. Greg said, would you like a tour around the pack house? Greg nodded gratefully. That'd be nice. As I walked them around the pack house, I noticed wolves stopping to stare. What was left of the gang walked by, not taking notice of the new faces. Hey Rai, who's that? Well, almost all of the gang. Jamie jogged up to us with a silly grin on his face. Jamie, this is Greg, Martha, and Logan. I pointed at each person as I said their name. Hi, I'm Jamie. Hi Jamie. Martha smiled warmly. We continued our tour and I smiled when I heard Logan and Jessica giggle at Jamie's weird jokes. I saw Martha give Greg a happy look. It must mean she likes Jamie. I mean, who doesn't? I slipped my hand into Ashton's and he looked at me in surprised pleasure. I smiled at him and leaned up to give him a quick peck on his cheek. But before my lips made contact with his cheek, he turned his head so I kissed him on the lips. I jerked my head back and my eyes were wide. Ashton gave me a cheeky grin. I love you. I smiled, but it immediately melted off my face as a few words slipped out of my mouth. I love you too. He froze and his mouth popped open. What? His minty breath fanning over my face. I love you. Ashton grinned and crashed his lips to mine, kissing me hungrily. I responded just as fiercely. Hey, get a room. Then there were giggles behind us. I pulled away, still grinning. I'm going to kill Jamie one day, Ashton uttered darkly. But I won't let you. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Then there was a thoughtful look on Ashton's face and he looked at me and grinned with happiness. You know, I think you'll follow what Jamie said. Huh? Let's get a room, Ashton said. My face heated up as lust entered Ashton's eyes. Okay, I said quietly. But what about the tour? Jamie, Jessica, your EI charge, Ashton called. Where were you going? Jessica asked. To get a room. Yuck. Jessica fake-gagged. You guys better not make a lot of noises. Brandon and Sophie scarred me enough. She shivered. Her room was right across from Sophie and Brandon, so she'd be able to hear all the noises late at night. I'll keep that in mind. Ashton waved. Now if you'd excuse us. We have something very important to do. We began walking away. I don't think it's such a good idea to leave Jamie and Jessica alone. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Casting a worried glance behind my shoulder, If it means spending more time with you, it's a great idea. Chapter 51 finally mated Riley's POV. The alphas, betas, and thirds came back the next day. Instead of resting after a long journey, they went to talk to Greg's family about joining the pack. I have not got to see them because Ashton wanted to surprise his mother. So I am sitting in the living room waiting for Haley. Jessica had went to get her, and from where I was, I could hear her complaining about how tired she was. I heard multiple footsteps walking down, and I realized that Jessica brought more than one person. Riley. I yelped and shot Ashton a glare. He grinned at me innocently. I haven't gotten used to the mind link thing. We were quite surprised that a human could use the mind link. What is it? Haley asked, exhaustion evident in her voice. Just follow me. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Jessica called. Is there another Rouge? There's another smell in the air. It smells like Ashton, and there was silence. Then I heard hushed whispers. Then a loud scream. Then more thunderous footsteps. The living room burst open, making Ashton and I jump. Haley, Taryn, Spencer, and everyone else were here. Jessica, Ashton said. I only said Mom. Jessica rolled her eyes. Too bad. They were all there, so they wanted to follow. Why only Haley? Spencer snapped. How about her brother? I was going to tell you, but you said you were busy with all that gang stuff. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Well, he said sarcastically, it's hard work, assigning missions for murderers, spies, and thieves. Haley was hyperventilating in the middle of the room. There was a mad grin on her face, and Taryn was trying to calm her down with soft words. Then the girls began squealing like middle school girls, and they sat in a circle around me. Are my grandchildren on their way? Haley asked excitedly. Ashton chucked on his spit. Enthusiasm, Mom, I don't think we're ready for children. Maybe in a few years. Haley pouted like a child. I don't plan on sharing Riley anytime soon. Ashton placed a light kiss on my temple, and my heart rate increased AWW. The girls and Jamie cooed. I raised an eyebrow at Jamie, and he blushed, ducking his head. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You guys did use protection, right? Justin asked, taking up the second brother title. Yup. I popped the key. Yup as in. Yup. We forgot to use it, or yup. We used it. Dennis asked. Lucy and I rolled our eyes. Idiot. Lucy muttered. In dating an idiot. Dennis must then have heard, because he was still looking at me for answer. Jared, who was the closest to Dennis, smacked him upside his head. Idiot. Jared repeated what Lucy said. They did use it. Oh, Dennis complained. Could have just said that. Didn't need to hit me. I think hitting was necessary. Bridget mumbled. So are you going to be staying here or going back to your house? Carly asked. I'm staying here. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Spencer and I have already discussed this. Spencer avoided my heavy gaze and stared at his feet. Achia stood upset that I'm not following him back. You guys better reserve a room for me, Lucy said. I'm going to be visiting a lot. It told her about my dream with my mother, and the day I thought it killed Paul. She immediately began planning what she was going to teach Jessica. When it's time for her to see that nincompoop, I want her to set him right onto his butt. Girls need to step up and face the men, to show them who's boss. Those were her exact words. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Justin said, all of us will be here a lot. Maybe with the exception of Spencer. Spencer smacked Justin on his shoulder. Of course I'm going to be here. I'm not going to let those to do who knows what without my supervision. Dude, Jamie chuckled. You need to get yourself a life. Go out more, meet someone, and date her. It's not that easy, Jamie. Spencer rolled his eyes. Jamie had a look in his eyes. Are you saying that from experience? And no, Spencer stuttered. You already have someone in mind, but you'll eat a chicken to ask her out. Admit it. Jamie cackled. What's her name? Color rushed up to Spencer's cheeks and he scratched the back of his neck. Robin Peterson. Cole and Lucy perked up. That's our cousin, they said at the same time. To our agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Dennis repeated. Then he snapped his fingers. Oh, that really nice girl with long, shiny, brown hair. Lucy narrowed her eyes at him. I am about to break up with you again, Dennis. But I don't think she's as pretty or nice as her way better cousin, Lucy. Dennis added quickly. Lucy smirked. Good. Yeah. Jamie shivered. That woman is too old for you, Dennis. She's my age. Dennis deadpanned. And how did you know that? Lucy asked. Lucky guess. Dennis shrugged. Lucky, indeed. Jamie chortled. Why didn't you tell me? I asked Spencer. Hey, don't blame me. You were too busy hanging onto Ashton's arm. I was going to tell you. You should have went to Cole or me. Lucy Tutty. We know more about Robin than Riley. We grew up with her. You know. She loves lilies and hates roses. She likes her lily spray painted rainbow. She's allergic to seafood and loves to shop. Like most female Petersons, Cole said. She loves puppies. Especially golden retrievers. She thinks walking by the beach at sunset, or sunrise, is romantic. Lucy added. She stands up for female rights. Like yours truly. So don't you dare say women can't do anything men can do. She'll whoop your butt. Oh, and one last fact that you'll definitely love. Cole smirked. She's planning on joining the gang. Spencer's eyes lit up like a child's on Christmas Day. Great. Just then, Lucy's phone rang. She pulled it out and looked at the caller it. She smirked and muttered, Speak of the devil. Spencer froze and Lucy placed her phone on the table. Robin's name flashed on the screen and Lucy answered it, along with pressing the speaker button. Hey bird. Lucy called sweetly. Hey Lou. Another voice said. I bit my lip to stop myself from bursting into giggles as I saw Spencer tense up. What's up? Lucy asked him casually. You know what I said about joining the gang? Robin asked. Yeah. Lucy had a large grin on her face. Well, who do I talk to? Robin rushed out. Why don't you come over? Lucy asked. That's why I called. Robin said. I need a ride. Could you come pick me up? Lucy smirked at Spencer. I can't right now. My best friend just had the best night of her life. I need to talk to her. Do you mind if I sent someone else? Ooh, Robin giggled from the other side. Getting kinky, So who's going to pick me? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Nope. Lucy popped the pea. I'll send my boss. Robin gasped. What? No, is he scary? Does he have a lot of scars and is a broody type like Jared? Jared scowled from the side. I'm not broody. He mumbled softly so Robin didn't hear him know. Lucy chuckled. He's like a puppy who wants a lot of attention. Don't worry. Bird, you'll like him. There was a sigh. Send him over. Him at the mall and about 5 bags of clothes. He better be able to carry them into the car. I'm not going to torture my arms any longer. Okay. Lucy chirped. See you soon. Bird. Love ya. Lumwa. Robin made a kissy noise and hung up. You're sending me to pick her up. Spencer all but yelled. Lucy said with a playful smirk on her lips. She's nice. You're nice-ish. She's cute. You're kind of attractive. She's tall. You're short. Just kidding. But really, go pick her up. Hook up. Accept her into the gang. And get together. Everyone will be happy. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Cole tossed something into the air. Spencer caught it with one hand. Your cark is, as much as she loves a motorcyclist, that boy type. She already said she has 5 bags of girl shopping. I snorted. That boy. Because you're my sister. You don't know other people see me. Spencer said. I know. I waved off. But seriously. That boy. More of idiot who is way too protective of his sister. I suggest you hurry up. Lucy said, looking at the flashing lights of her phone that told her she was receiving a message. Bert doesn't like waiting for people. Spencer quickly walked away. I could feel nervousness coming from his direction, making me smirk. So much for bad boy, I exclaimed. My eyes went to Brandon. Is Greg's family? Jessica nodded excitedly. Nathan and Aaron and some women just left to do some shopping with them. Hey Jessica, Lucy called. Didn't you want to learn more fighting techniques from me? Jessica nodded her head vigorously. Why don't we head to my place? We have everything you will need to practice. Lucy said smoothly. Looks like she's going to start class that I'll prepare her for the future. Well, to my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Jake held up his hands. Right now. But, okay. Listen, but Lucy said, you want your sister safe. Unraped and all. Right. Jake nodded. But in order for her to toughen up, she needs to train for the future. To fight off the rapists who will probably be human and we don't to expose her powers to humans. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Is there silver down there? Brandon asked. Lucy raised her eyebrows. Seriously, after finding out about werewolves and then have war with and against wolves, you expect us to have not have any silver? Of course we've got silver. Then just can't go to your house. Austin said. The house doesn't have silver. Justin piped in. It's the hideout that has the majority of silver. Its smell is very strong for a wolf, and once you enter the hideout, your abnormal strengths will be reduced to an average human's. So, Lucy cut in and quickly rolled her eyes at Justin's long talk. What Justin is trying to say is Jessica wouldn't be harmed. She has shifted so the silver won't harm her as much. She can't touch silver guns or knives or bullets or anything silver. Ashton said. She has to be 10 feet away from any weapon that is silver. I saw Jessica roll her eyes. Okay. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Let's go, Lucy asked, glancing at me and Jessica. Yeah. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I made a move to stand up, but Ashton's arm tightened around my waist. You're going to? He asked, looking at me. Isn't that why I stood up? I joked. I thought you were going to stay with me. He pouted. I patted his cheeks softly. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Are you coming? Riley, Lucy called. Or are you going to stay with Loverboy? I'm coming. I placed a haste kiss on his lips. I'll see you later. I stood up but stumbled slightly. My inner thighs still ache. Ashton was instantly at my side, looking at me concerned. Are you okay? Yeah. I nodded. Jamie, you're following us. Now go help Riley walk. Lucy ordered. Jamie saluted. Yes, madam. He approached me and turned his back to me. He bent down and said, Piggyback time. This is your way of helping me walk up. Now get on. I gingerly placed my hands on his shoulders and he placed his hands on the back of my thighs. He stood up and dashed and stopped us. Your hands cannot go any higher than we're fair at," Ashton warned, gesturing at my butt. Jamie grinned and began walking. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm," I said through the mate link. Then I felt a hand pat my butt and there was a loud growl from behind. I slapped Jamie its cheek lightly but still cracked a small smile. "I am really considering killing Jamie right now," Ashton growled. "I know. I love you," he said suddenly. A warm smile spread across my face. "I love you too." The end.